Welcome everybody to the Kabbalah shul. Just came from a 9-hour day. So I have to get my brain working. I call this shul the little shul that could. It's the smallest shul in the world and has the biggest heart. It allows us to come here. I'd like to thank Rabbi Naftali Citron and Julie Bola and Peter and the whole Kabbalah family for hosting us and letting everybody come. I'd also like to thank Jennifer Tolman for the sushi and welcome all the guests. So tonight I chose the topic of tattoos because I am so inundated from it. Wherever I go, I don't know what to do. And there's nothing wrong with it to have friends at work that are like really sweet people, good coworkers. I like them, I'd go hang out with them and have tattoos, so that's cool, right? But for me, coming from an upbringing that I've been, when we were told from even being a child, tattoos is not allowed, right? And then they always warned you that if you get a tattoo, you won't be buried in the Jewish cemetery, all that other stuff. So what also started to get on my nerves was that I would see even young girls with tattoos already. I'm like, again, it's whatever the personal preference of the person. I'm okay with that. But I was always wondering what's going on. Like, I'm Jewish. Why does it bother me? What's going on? Everybody's doing it and I'm not. And we're not doing it. And why is everybody doing it? What's going on? Are we missing out? What are we? Are we Jews? And Jews don't do this stuff? And I started to play in my mind. And it was bothering me a lot. So at work, like I said,
We have Jewish mothers.
We have Jewish mothers, right? So, right. So in the old days, we used to put those tattoos for a penny, put them on. So then I was at work, and I have a lot of friends, like I said, co-workers, Jewish and non-Jewish, that have tattoos. And I have a very close friend there. Oh, so I asked him. I called him over. I said, "His name is Neil." I said, "What's going on, man? Why don't you have tattoos?" What's going on, man? You go out with your friends. What's going on? So he says, I don't like tattoos. I go, why not? I mean, everybody has tattoos. He goes, my grandfather had a tattoo as well. He says, from a concentration camp. So when he said that, it like a bat just went, boom. I was just stunned, really stunned, and my head went to pop. I said, I have to do something about this tattoo situation. And it's very important that Jews should know about tattoos, even Jews that are not observant or are not knowledgeable about tattoos. So I started to try to look around for tattoos. There's tons of stuff in the Gemara and the Talmud, endless stuff in Shulchan Aruch. But what does the Kabbalah say? What does mysticism say? So I went straight to a book written by a Breslov leader, the main student of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. His name is Rabbi Nassim Sternhartz, Rabbi Nachman's main student, who wrote everything down from Rabbi Nachman. And I don't want to call this Breslov, I call this Torah. It happens to be written by a guy who was a Breslover. And he has a book called the Lekutei Halachot, the Lekutei Halachas, which is the Shulchan Aruch on mysticism. Everything going on in Shulchan Aruch on mysticism. And it's pretty cool stuff. So I asked Neil, is your grandfather still alive? And he says, yes. So I wrote his grandfather's name down. And let's see if I still have it. So Neil's, in the honor of Neil's grandfather, who unfortunately had to go through the Holocaust in the concentration camp. So at least we can wish him good health and long life. And because of his zechut, or whatever he went through, we can, we didn't go through it, but at least we can have him in mind. And maybe we can stop other Jews from getting a tattoo. So his name is Mordechai Tzion ben Chaya.
He's alive.
He's still alive and kicking, and to 140. In those days, they used to say 120, but then they kicked it up another 20 years to 140. I also like to state a disclaimer that we're not putting anybody down here, and this stuff is mostly related to Jews. I think it's only related to Jews. It doesn't relate to people that are not of the Jewish faith. So I hope I don't offend anyone or hurt anyone's feelings, but this is a Kabbalah, which is we received this from our fathers and our grandfathers and our great rabbis. This is something that is an inheritance to us as a Jewish nation, and we would like to learn what's an inheritance to us. So this is what the Kabbalah says, in mysticism, in Judaism. We're going to learn it. What else? Okay. So if you go to page 1, I made some copies of Likutei Halachot. No, we're going to go to page 1 in the English. So basically, we have about 45 minutes, and I need to take up every minute, so I had to get some extra stuff to learn. So I want to just go through the Chumash, through the Bible. Everybody knows what it says a million times over. Then we're going to go through the Gemara, the Talmud, a little bit, just to understand what's going on. Then we're going to go through later poskim, like Rav Moshe Feinstein, pretty interesting stuff. There's also a problem on taking off a tattoo. Putting it on is a problem, but taking it off is also damaging the body. You're not allowed to damage your body. Then the question comes, is a woman allowed to get a nose job? Can you get cosmetic surgery? Is it affecting the body, stuff like this? And so that's an interesting related thing. And then we end up with an incredible story of Rav Moshe Feinstein. So we can start here from the Bible, or the Chumash, and in Leviticus 19:28. I sound like a Sunday morning guy. The prohibition of tattooing is found in the Torah. You shall not make gashes in your flesh for the dead, or incise any marks on yourselves. I am Hashem. Straight from God on Mount Sinai. It is the second part of this verse from which we derive the general prohibition against tattooing. From the onset, there is a disagreement about what precisely makes tattooing a prohibitive act. The anonymous author of the Mishnah, an individual statement in the compilation known as the Mishnah, states that it is the lasting and permanent nature of tattooing which makes it a culpable act. Meaning, if a man wrote on his skin, pricked in writing, he's not culpable unless he writes it and pricks it in with ink or eye paint or anything that leaves a lasting mark. That's from the Gemara. Now the Gemara is going to go back and forth, because Jews are not going to just take anything sitting down. They're going to always challenge. But Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda disagrees and says that it is the inclusion of God's name which makes it a culpable act. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda says in the name of Reb Shimon, he is not culpable unless he writes there the name of a god, or it is written, or incise any marks on yourselves, I am the Lord. So now there's a debate whether just writing anything in the skin is a prohibition, or if writing a god's name, even a false god, or even Hashem's name. They start fighting over this. So you can sit here if you want. Bring up to his paperwork. How are you? Welcome. Great to see you. Here's some paperwork. We have just some new guests arrived. There's sushi and pickles. We didn't plan it that way. And hummus. So we're just starting out. We started a few minutes ago. We're just going to the source in the Chumash and in the Gemara and the Talmud of where tattoos originate. And right now we're in the middle of the Talmud, which now they're getting into a disagreement of what it actually is a tattoo. So in the Gemara goes on to debate whether it is the inclusion of God's name or a pagan deity that makes it a culpable act. Fine. Now we go to Maimonides. Clearly sees the origin of this prohibition as an act of idolatry. He includes it in his section concerning idolatry, and then explicitly states this was a custom among the pagans who marked themselves for idolatry. But Maimonides concludes that regardless of intent, the act of tattooing is prohibited, no matter what. Okay? We're going to keep going. Now, only voluntary. Okay. The prohibition of tattooing throughout the halachic literature on the bottom of page 1 in English, in that last paragraph. The prohibition of tattooing throughout the halachic literature deals, Peter, on the bottom. Everybody is going to help me with this gathering tonight. I'm not teaching, I'm only sharing, and everybody please help me out because you make life a little easier for me. Please help out, say whatever you like. The prohibition of tattooing throughout the halachic literature deals only with personal, voluntary tattooing. With respect to the reprehensible practice of the Nazis who marked the arms of Jews with tattooed numbers and letters during the Shoah, the Holocaust, the Shulchan Aruch, the authoritative 16th century code of Jewish law, makes it clear that those who bear these tattoos are blameless. If the tattoo was done in the flesh of another, the one to whom it was done is blameless. Okay.
And who said this?
It's a Shulchan Aruch. It says it on the bottom. Shulchan Aruch Yoredeya 182. Not the Nazis. Not the Nazis. He's saying that just the idea.
No, but this was. But how can they be talking about the Nazis when it?
No, he just brought the Nazis as a horrible example of tattooing.
But the Shulchan Aruch is before the Nazis.
Right.
Right, but the Indians, the principle.
The idea, the general idea that it was done against a person's will, he's not punished. Let's go to page 2.
You're not required to sacrifice their life.
Right. I'm just curious, how many people are on the live video feed? What does it say?
2.
Oh, hi. Okay, now we're gonna shoot up to 2009. I did some web searching and stuff popped up from Rabbi Joshua Ross. It says on webyeshiva.org. Some interesting stuff. One who makes a tattoo is liable if one wrote but did not prick the skin, or if one has pricked the skin but did not write. One is not liable until one writes and pricks the skin with black ink or blue eye, or with anything that makes a mark. So we're just going through the general laws here. Let's go down to the next paragraph. Based on this Gemara, there seems to exist a theoretical possibility that one does not actually transgress the biblical prohibition unless one actually tattoos the name of God onto one's skin, or alternatively, one is tattooing some type of idol worship onto his or her body. On this topic, it should be noted that the Gemara simply offers these possibilities for consideration without stating a halachic conclusion. Suffice to say, we see that the Gemara takes the prohibition so seriously that one is forbidden on the rabbinic edict to use ash on the wound for refuah purposes, lest it look like he was tattooed after the wound heals. Okay, yes, sure.
Wait, so it doesn't come to a conclusion in the Gemara about
No.
with the issue of having Shem Hashem?
I don't know. I didn't get there. The Gemara is like this big.
Oh,
It's endless. I'm just touching upon
I've
stuff.
seen that.
I'm just touching upon
no,
stuff.
because
That'll
I
be your
have seen
next
that
class.
in Israel. I've seen that.
Yes,
You're
sure.
thinking about tattoo, the Shem Hashem that came up here?